Good morning, everybody. I pray all is well with everybody. It's Friday. We made it through the week. Well, the work week, school week, whatever kind of week it is for whoever. Um, wanted to get up here, and I just wanted to I want to first of all give God the glory and just to let y'all know the things He has been doing in my life, but also let y'all also know the battles I had to go through, and now it all makes sense as of yesterday. So, with that said, you know, sometimes in life, when you just, like I always tell people, when you start experiencing the goodness of God, you know what I'm saying, there's going to always be a devil that comes your way. The enemy itself, the devil's going to send like demonic people or evil people your way to try to do whatever it is to get you off of your, your post with God, get off your whatever with God. So we have to understand, like I said, most people, this is a time, two times, I want to say, season in your life you want to be very aware of. Either right before a blessing, and blessings, like I always explain to you, it's not always money or materialistic things. Sometimes blessing can be favor on a situation, opportunities, or even, your life itself, because there's so much evil out here in this world. Like, blessings can be also a form of God sparing your life from something or someone or anything. But anyway, when when a blessing is about to come your way, right after a blessing, you would notice an increase of warfare. I'm talking about like the craziest things that just come out the woodworks, the blue, And like I said yesterday, it all made sense. And in the process, like I said, I'm not going to get up here and mention the things that God has done for me and still is doing for me, or, the things that has been, done for me. I will say this: He has been really touching my life in amazing ways, and it made sense yesterday. when whenever you get kind of to the point when you're like discouraged, and because of all kinds of like crazy mess, I'm talking about like the craziest stuff that start happening to you. Understand those two seasons. Like I said, always evaluate yourself and just take a look at, okay, why is this happening? And start writing it down or start memorizing some of the season that you go through. Like what was you actually going through before, either before a great victory or after a great victory. So, like I said, God has been touching my life in like crazy ways. A lot of things. I mean, like when I say some things that, I mean, totally mind blowing, like not mind, but totally like my mind couldn't even comprehend some of the favor, the blessings, and miracles and things that He has been doing and within my life and my the two boys' life. Needless to say, there was like a counterbalance with that. You get what I'm saying? In spite of the things that He was making happen for us, there has been, oh my goodness, when I say an increase of warfare, like on every area, to the point where the enemy was trying to break me down to get me to stop really believing in God and to stop trusting what God was trying to do, make me think that if it was even worth me even having faith, you know what I'm saying? But I thank God for grace that He never allowed the enemy to take my mind. But now I'm starting to realize, and the more and the harder I walk with God, the better understanding I would get of God, and His kingdom, and the way He wants things. But the more insight you get, the more attached you're going to get. So you have to be prepared to continuously to fight, and a lot of times, like I say often, a lot of these fights we fight in, these are not flesh and blood. These are people who's been literally taken over by a dark power. And like I said, not everybody's aware that they're under this demonic oppression, because the enemy is very deceitful. He's very deceiving. So he had these people thinking that they're in good standings with the Lord, but in reality, they're really serving, the devil and giving foothold for the devil to kind of like run their life. And by him doing that, like, they allow the enemy to use them to try to destroy someone else. But like I always tell people, as long as you living right and you doing what you're supposed to do to the best of your ability, according to the way God's will have for your life, yeah, weapons is going to form, but it would never prosper. So understand this, we're going to fight until the day Jesus return. But one thing God did promise us, especially if we're in the will of God, he's going to always be there. He would never forsake us, And the weapons, he never told us that weapons won't form. He just said it won't prosper, So it's important to know, whenever you start going against the spiritual warfare, sometimes, not most of the time, if you're living right, 9 times out of 10, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're doing something right. And the enemy don't like decency and order. He likes chaos, confusion, and he has a destructive spirit. And anyone who around you, whether it's a family member or friend or whatever, or whoever it is, you will notice that he will use them, especially the ones close to you or any kind of like connections with you. You'll notice that he'll use them the most to try to bring you down, And they do deceitful things. And these are people, it hurts sometimes because these are people that either, like I said, it's in your bloodline. You share the same blood, family, or people you grew up with since childhood. And, and y'all did a lot of things together, grew up. And though you don't wish bad on them, it's hurtful to see that they wish bad on you because of whatever the reason, or because of whatever influence from the dark arts or the dark world that they're partaking in, knowingly and unknowingly. So they're being used to carry out such a malicious, destructive weapon to try to kill, steal, and destroy people. But in spite of all the stuff that I had to put up with here recently, I can honestly say God has been good, and he had got me out of a lot of things. He had opened up a lot of doors. He had done a lot for me, like surprise things. Like I said, I'm not going into detail about, because I'm learning my lesson. Everything that God does is not meant for the world in there, because, everybody's not going to be happy for you. You got people who's literally out here waiting for you to fail. They just wait at like, they can't wait to get the call for somebody, but like, I told you, you know what I mean? Like, but that's just the misery that's in people. So don't take these people personally, because these people really is not even aware of who they are. You know what I'm saying? And especially when someone's not confident in their own self, or they're miserable in their life, they don't love their life, they don't want nobody else to enjoy life, so they're going to do whatever they got to do, or think they doing, to try to destroy somebody. But like I said, the devil is a lie. I'm going to keep on, keep on keeping on. And that's my encouragement today. In spite of what the devil does, you keep on keeping on. You put your faith and trust in God, and God's going to get you through everything. And once God see that you're willing to do that, God can only use people who are humble, who are meek, who are able to listen and submit to his will, to the best ability. People who constantly die to self, and they're not ready about self-gratification or self-elevation. They want really what's well for everybody, in spite of what people want for them. They're not out here doing evil, malicious things to try to kiss those poor people. Besides, like I said, God don't want you up here praying for your enemy, somebody that's really trying to take you out of here. No, he pray against that, because like I tell everybody, he said, suffer not a wish to live. So with that said, there's a balance between that. If someone in your family or someone in your friend circle, or someone that you may know who's trying to cause harm and set up traps and the plots and plans and things for you, you know what I'm saying? And they don't really realize that they are literally trying to hurt you, or they are hurting you, you don't pray God bless them for them to continue to, try to destroy you. You don't pray prayers to elevate people who's trying to take your life. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's in a spiritual form or, whatever form that is, literal form or whatever. You pray God's will over the situation. And regardless of how God take care of the situation, this how you give it to him and he'll take care of it. And you just walk away. You still, pray that, all weapons formed against you shall not prosper. Learn how to bind, rebuke, renounce, denounce, and send back these weapons that's sent to you. You can do that. Now, we're not saying go out here and just see people, Lord, do this and do that to somebody. No, you don't do that. No, you just, whatever's been sent to you, you just send it back and you rebuke it in Jesus' mighty name. With that said, you don't necessarily have to sit there and accept the things that people are doing to you because they are in the form of a friend or family member or associate, And unfortunately, if they don't get themselves together, they're going to meet their ultimate end. And their ultimate end is not going to be in these pearly gate places as they think it's going to be, So it's time that you start focusing on not on the person or people who are doing things to you. You need to focus on what God is doing. Be grateful and thankful for the people that God has placed in your life. Don't worry about who's not in your life or who's, not doing anything, to, like any, you don't need nobody but God. And he showed me that in this journey. He showed me that in this journey. I used to try to feel sorry at the beginning of this walk because, like I said, a lot of people walked away from me, and I had to walk away from a lot of people. And I knew when I was on my own with just me and the boys, I knew it was going to be a tough journey, but I decided to trust God. And by me trusting God, he's never felt me yet. And I will say that. Is it miserable to constantly have things constantly going? Yes, it is. But at the same time, you got to understand that's just how the enemy works, You just got to continue to trust God at all during all situations. So basically, I wanted this basically to get up here and just tell y'all to continue to trust the Lord at all times. He is working things out for you that you may never know. And sometimes it's not good for you to know everything God is doing. Just as well, it's not good enough for you to know everything that God is protecting you from. You just trust in him. He got you. You just got to put your trust in the Lord. So with that said, understand your warfare, understand what's going on, what I'm saying, especially when people, just suddenly just come to your life, people that don't mean no good and wishing, things to happen to you, but they're realizing that you are blessed. They're realizing that, the weapon they did form and create or still maybe still creating, because the devil don't stop. He don't stop. And that's why I say you can't stop. You don't start fighting. You don't stop fighting either. You know what I mean? You're going to always fight until Jesus comes. But like I said, by God showing you his favor, his grace, his mercy, and like I said, in many forms of blessings in your life, as people on the outside and anything that's going against you should not really bother you. You pray against it, you send back whatever you need to send back, and you keep being great with your life. But understand, when God start doing marvelous things in your life, he start blessing your life and area, you're going to go through a bunch of warfare. And unfortunately, like I said, it's going to come from in the form of people that you really know. And in some cases, people like loved ones, people you really love. It hurts you to see that they're doing that to you, but you're able to see from spiritual lens that this don't even have nothing to do with them. You know what I mean? This is what they're, what they're what their spirit is really about, and they're, like I said, some is aware and some not. But anyway, I'm not going to be up here as long as I usually do. I just want to get up here and tell you that God has really been turning things around in my life, and I'm very grateful. I won't speak upon it, but I will say, just be aware whenever God start blessing you, and whenever he, whenever he's about to bless you, understand that warfare. Start studying the patterns of your warfare. That's how you're either real close. You're either real close to your breakthrough, and or after that breakthrough happened, he's gonna do all he can to destroy you, to bring you back down to his low vibrant level. And he uses people that you do know. And like I said, it comes in the form of family, fake friends, so-called associates, whatever, don't get your hands dirty. Like, give them to God, and you just keep on going. You pray about it, pray against whatever's being sent, and you keep being great. So let this message encourage you to understand, just because you go through spiritual battles that manifests is usually 9 times 10 in the natural, because it starts off from a spiritual level and then it happens in the natural. Don't let that discourage you. Don't let that get you off of the walk that God has intent for you. You know, like your purpose, your calling. I don't care who it is, you know, who it is that's connected to you or whatever, you know, whoever it is that you know. Don't never let nobody get you out the grace of God, you know, because when you start operating like these little vibrant spirits out here, you're going to get just as much, and sometimes just as worse as what they're going to get, what they're already probably reaping. And that's why they're trying to make your life miserable with theirs. So don't go there. You know what I'm saying? Wipe your hands off with people and keep it moving. All right, you guys, like I said, God has really touched my life in a major way this week. He showed me this week and last week why I was going through a lot of things I was going through. And I know I'm still going to continue to fight. And why I'm still going through some things that I'm going through now. Why there's suddenly the attacks from the people that so-called said they love you at one point in their life, and they steady want you in or waiting for you any given thing. And they've been getting, excuse me, any given day waiting for you to, you know, to be ultimately destroyed. So, you know, it can help their self-esteem, because these people, they're lost. They don't have a identity. Their identity is in breaking other people down so they can be on the same level as them. I just refuse to give my time and energy to people, places, and or things that's not going to serve me, that's not going to better me. You know, to each his own. That's just me, who I am as a person, and with my growth, where God is taking me out of darkness and into the light. I still got a long way to go, but that's just what he has been doing in my life. So again, I pray this message reach the right people or person that maybe, even if it's just one person, you know, that they get the concept of why they're going through the things that they're going through. But that's not the time for you to quit. You fight even harder, even if you got to rest in God's arms, you know what I'm saying, for a day or two or a few, however long it may take. You still turn it over to God. You still keep your faith, your trust. Like I said, faith is key. Faith. It's key. Keep your faith and trust in God. And you just keep on being great with yourself. You got to go a day or two, rest. Do what you got to do, you know, and which is rest is important. Find time to slow down, you know, so you can also hear from God. God will give you downloads on things, whether it's things you should do to, you know, wherever it is, your journey that he has you going down, and or even when things are coming up against you, he'll give you the insight of that. But you would never know if you're constantly busy and you're constantly letting your guard down with these people who's like energy vampires is out here trying to waste your time and get you distracted. You know what I mean? So the enemy can do his final, you know, ultimately attack he's trying to do in your life. I'm able to tell y'all this because I had to go through quite a few setups by the enemy throughout my whole entire life. And then I'm finally waking up to the schemes, the plots, the traps of the enemy. So y'all be blessed. Like I said, thank God that it is Friday. It's here. We completed a work week or school week or whatever kind of week we completed. Let's continue to be positive and focus on what's really need to be focused on. Even the distractions in this world that's going on, your mind need to be set on heavenly things, not on worldly, earthly things. All right, be blessed, beautiful men and women of God. You know, continue to stay in prayer, continue watching, praying, and you know, continue. Like I said, just live your life to the fullest, as positive as you can. Love you all. Y'all be blessed.